Adrian Scott. Adrian Scott.
Well, greetings and shalom. This is Adrian Scott, and welcome to Truth and Testimony, the broadcast. This is going to be a pretty straightforward video, but I'm sure it basically cannot not be a controversial video. As you can tell by the title, I'm taking the opportunity on behalf of myself and Ray to state that we stand for Israel, period. Just to make that very clear out there. Now, Ray is not here. I know he has his viewpoint, but we share enough of the points that I can speak on behalf of both of us. And actually, off camera, I have spoken to him to get his blessing on doing this video. So I do state that this is a united front for the two of us in our support of our brothers and sisters in Israel, whom we do utterly believe are the chosen people of God, as indicated by God's word, which we also believe. And it's not just a book of fairy tales and superstitions. It is a text for life. It is also an accurate accounting of history, in my opinion. And so you can trust everything you read in that book. And in that book, it does state that Israel are his chosen people. They have always been his chosen people. And despite the fact that there would be discipline done against them for their disobedience, which illustrates the fact that they are not perfect. And so I don't give Israel, maybe even more particularly the government of Israel, a free pass on everything. You can see the imperfection. All you have to do is flip open your Bible to see the imperfection of the Jewish people. However, they are his chosen people, and they will always be his chosen people, as he also maintains very clearly in more sections than I can illustrate right now, that he will forever retain a remnant, and at some future point is going to bring them all back to their land. Full borders. So, because of the issues that are going on in the Middle East, I want to tackle a little bit of my own viewpoint of the history of circumstances over there. But I want to illustrate, and I'm going to repeat this numerous times, more specifically, I'm kind of stating this video to kind of state Ray and I's viewpoint, but to indicate that I am linking about a half a dozen or so videos down below, and I absolutely and very, very strongly encourage you and recommend that you check out all of those videos. By my personal estimation, I am going to list them in the order of what I think the importance is. So if you don't watch all 6 of them, at least, at bare minimum, watch the first 2 or 3. I would, again, recommend all of them. So I'm going to be stating a cursory viewpoint, but the videos do a much more elaborate and better job than what I'm going to do. I am not a historian. I don't have all of the facts and figures at my fingertip. I am kind of going off the top of my head, but this is a topic that I have been very interested in for quite a while, and I have done a lot to try to educate myself, because I don't take anybody's word for anything. I need to look for the evidence myself where I can, as much as I can. So, with that being said, we'll talk a little bit about the whole Palestinian situation in Israel. First off, right out of the gate, I would make a statement that there has never really officially been recognized a state of Palestine. There's references to Palestine. I believe during, was it World War I or just before or after World War I? We had, as the area was under British control, they had something called the British Mandate for Palestine. If we go back, and actually I could say, well, where does the term Palestine come from? The best as history seems to record is this really is something that came about at the time of the Roman Empire, when they were the dominant force in the area. So this would have been roundabout and for some time after the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. And they took to quoting the area as Palestine, and I believe this was in an effort to kind of disaffect the Jewish people, to try to make some separation, or really kind of putting them under the screws, to make a point, to say, no, we're in charge here, this isn't your land, and kind of throw that term out there. I believe that as far as kind of a word etymology goes, the term Palestine would derive from the old term Philistine. And we do know that according to the Bible, according to God's word, at one point in the past, in biblical times, that there was a group of people living in the area called the Philistines. We read about this in the narration of Samson and Delilah, but also at other times where you had the Philistines. And it does seem like, according to the biblical record, the Philistines and the Jewish people, or the Hebrews, had a lot of conflict going on. But of important note to me in that case is the Bible states, and I actually think there's other records outside of the Bible that back this up, that the Philistines themselves were not native to that part of the world, that they actually came in from elsewhere. I believe it was the Aegean, some of the Greek islands, or even Greece itself, possibly some other areas over there, but that they themselves were not native to the land. As a matter of fact, I have argued for a long time that if you were to try to make a claim of it being anyone's land other than the Israelites, you could maybe make a case for the Canaanites. Now the problem is the Canaanites don't fall into one nice, neat category of people. Really loosely, you could say the Canaanites were Arabs, or modern day Arabs would be descended from the Canaanites. But there is land that Abraham went to the land of the Canaanites, that they went from Egypt into the land of Canaan. You get this reference over and over again. So if anyone could make a claim, if there's any Canaanites out there, I suppose they could do it. But Canaan and the Canaanites ceased to be a thing a very, very long time ago. Either way, there was never, and there is not now, an officially recognized state or nation called Palestine. And I'm sorry if you don't like to hear that, if you're in that camp, but that is a fact. Now, there are a group of people that call themselves Palestinians. There's no doubt about that. So how does this all tie into stuff? Well, let's look at it from one perspective. And this ties into a very popular slogan amongst Palestinians, where they say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. What does that mean? Right? I actually saw someone asking, what river and what sea are we talking about? And a lot of the people that are chanting this slogan don't even know. Well, we are talking about the Jordan River on the one side over to the Mediterranean Sea. What does that mean? Effectively, the entire nation of Israel. So I want to make one thing abundantly clear. As things stand right now, there can never be, and there will never be, a two-state solution. Mostly because the Palestinians on their part, and in particular we could say the PLO or even Hamas or any of these organizations, they will settle for nothing less than the complete removal and eradication of the Jewish people and the destruction of the nation of Israel. There is no compromising, there is no two-state solution. Now, one thing I would point out on the heels of that is, I would say almost every conflict, to the best of my knowledge, that has occurred between these two groups of people has been a result of the Palestinians initiating and the Israelis defending. That's everything I see. This goes back to the Yom Kippur War. This goes back to the Six-Day War, to 1967. In fact, back to 1948 or 49, very shortly after the formation of the State of Israel, that the Palestinians, either on their own or allied with the surrounding Arab nations, attacked Israel. and in each case, Israel defended themselves. In most of the cases, if not all, Israel, I would say, won. In fact, in the one occurrence, Israel did win and took an enormous chunk of land, including all of the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights up in the north, and as well as the West Bank, which is more, in my opinion, more properly labeled as Judea and Samaria. And if you look in the Bible and other records, it is also referred to as Judea and Samaria. It is never once referred to as Palestine. There's no reference, despite the fact that the vast majority of these people are Muslim, there's no reference to the Palestinians in the Quran, nor in the Bible. So these are all little pieces of evidence. Now, I'm not to say that Ray or I are opposed to the Palestinian people. I am opposed, I would say Ray is opposed as well, to the Palestinian people that are pro-destruction of Israel, but not all Palestinians want that. I did see at one point a very interesting report that got leaked out. I believe the person doing this was a Palestinian himself, but he had to go underground because if the authorities, i.e. Hamas, knew about this, then he would have been killed. The people he interviewed would have been killed, and their families most likely would have been killed. This is a terrorist organization, as recognized by most of the world. But he went and he actually asked these people, who would you rather have running Gaza? The Hamas or the Israelis? And it was a huge number. I think it was 80-something% basically said Israel, citing the fact that when Israel was there, because they were there up until 2005, for a long period of time, they had access to clean water, good access to food, they had access to agriculture, good medicine, medical care, a lot of these things, which at this point they don't have much access to. Which is interesting in and of itself, because is it worth pointing out that the Gaza Strip and the people of Gaza, that area, that little region, that little sliver right there, receive more donations than I believe any other organization on the planet, collectively. I'm talking multinationally around the world, countries, charitable groups donating money to this region. So this should be, especially given the size and the population, like the most affluent place in the entire planet. So when you look at the relative squalor that's there, and I really feel for the people that live there that are just trying to work a job and take care of their families and raise their families, that they have to live in conditions like this. Why? Where's all this money going? Well, can I just point out, look at how wealthy Hamas is? Can you look at how wealthy the leadership of Hamas is, or was? The money is basically stolen. It is stolen and it is taken to fund their acquisition of rockets and guns and ammunition and explosives and tunnel digging equipment and any number of other things so that they can fulfill their sole mission, which is the eradication of the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. That's where the money's going. It is not going to housing, education, infrastructure. So you want to do the Palestinians a favor, get Hamas out of there. And yeah, that's a tough one. It is a tough one because, again, not all Palestinians want this, but enough do. And the challenge really becomes, which one's which? How can you tell the difference? Because we also know that Hamas have a long sordid history of using their own people as human shields, as tools, as mechanisms to achieve their means, right? So that's where they'll hide their munitions, is in residential areas, in schools, and in hospitals. This has been proven time and time again. That they specifically will use their own people, again, as human shields. And then they'll turn around and they'll cite that Israel are the aggressors and that they're killing all these innocents. Effectively, by using them as human shields, it's Hamas that's killing them. Can I make an observation, my opinion here, that if Hamas had not launched these heinous attacks last October 7th, there's a good chance none of this stuff that's going on right now would be going on right now. There will be some variation of it because, again, they'll never be happy unless Israel is eradicated. But there's a very good chance that we wouldn't be having this conversation right now and things would be looking a lot different over there, right? Hamas started this. And Israel, with the support of Ray and I, because we agree with them, are aiming to end it. And we agree with that. I don't agree ever in genocide or mass execution of people. You know, as we see and have seen historically in a lot of other countries. This isn't limited to the Middle East or to Hamas. We've seen this time and time again. There's a long sordid list of brutality. Pol Pot comes to mind. Look that up. But I don't know. I think in order to effect changes relating to this, you can't just take out the leadership and structure of Hamas. You have to change the value system. You have to change the ideology. When they have cartoons and books targeted to young children that are just going through kindergarten and young school like that, that killing Jews is a good thing. And that's what they're raised with. What chance do these people have to ever... They're being brainwashed and indoctrinated from the youngest age to think and believe that what they're doing is holy and righteous. So I can't hate them for that. So we've covered a little bit about where the name Palestine came from, hence Palestinians. It's interesting to note that at, 1967? I think it was 1967 when the PLO was formed. This is the Palestinian Liberation Organization, with their head at that time was Yasser Arafat. That, in fact, one of the first before the PLO was actually formed, they were already calling for the destruction of Israel. It's in their mandate. You can look that up. But one of their first acts upon forming the PLO was actually a big attack against Jordan, that was who was in charge of Judea and Samaria, aka the West Bank, at that point, was Jordan. And this ended up in this enormous conflict between Arafat and King Hussein in Jordan at that time. So it's not like they're even just targeting the Israelis. They're going after any other people. And I fundamentally take this back to a concept that ties into Islam, which is if you're an infidel, you don't deserve to live. You're worth less than nothing. And you have basically two options in their eyes. At that point, you pay their tax, their protection fee, in order to stay alive, or you convert to Islam, or ultimately you die. That's your total choices, right? And as far as the gay community, lesbians, trans, all these different groups of people, particularly the ones that are supporting this, I hate to tell you, if you don't realize this, do you have any idea what would happen to you if you went to Gaza? Or if you, well, we won't even get into a place like Mecca. But even if you just went to Gaza, you know what? You know how they handle that group of people? They throw them off of roofs. That's how tolerant they are. So this isn't just about the Jews either. I think the Jews are just kind of the main thing that's right there. I'm going to take a moment just to remind you again, more than even what I'm saying, because I'm off the cuff here. I'm going off the top of my head. But if you want a real structured, informative answer to a lot of these issues and what this is about and what the history of it is, check out the video links below. I'll say it again. Check them all out. I'm going to put them in my estimation, what I think is the order of importance, number one down. So if you don't check them all out, at least check out the first two or three. But you're better off if you can check them all out. So I just want to state that again as I start to wrap this up. There's so much that I could go on about. There's so many things For an example, one example I can throw out is, I can't give you the exact number of times, but how many times a two-state solution has been proposed. Sometimes by the Americans, sometimes by other countries, sometimes by the UN. Different bodies have done this time and time again over the last however many years. And each time, Israel has accepted the terms and the Palestinians have rejected them. And in the one case, a two-state solution was proposed. Israel accepted, the Palestinians rejected it, and then several days later, I don't know days, but a very short period of time after that, launch a massive attack against Israel. After Israel had accepted the terms. So let's get some things in perspective here. And again, I don't have the most eloquent way of putting this, so please check out those video links below, because there's a couple that specifically touch on that topic. And they're just a great source of information. If you check any of those videos out, please give those videos from those channels a like. Even consider potentially subscribing to those channels. I think they're doing some great stuff. And I will start to wrap it up there. I don't want this to get too long-winded on my part. So the main point, the main gist of all of this is that Ray and I, and at Truth and Testimony, the broadcast, stand in support of the nation of Israel and their right to self-existence and to be there as a nation, as God's chosen people. That they have that God-given right to that, to their own determination. With that being said, I will conclude it there. There's, again, so much more that could be said, but I'm going to let it go there. I will say I do wish blessings to all of you in whatever place you're at right now. And I would ask that if you agree with us, if you stand with Ray and I in support of Israel, give this video a thumbs up. If you can, share it with someone else. If you don't share this video, share the links that I'm including below. But if you share this video, that'll inherently share all of those links with them anyways. And if you have not done so at this point, consider subscribing to the channel. Ray and I, we've been kind of struggling to get some content up as of late. There's reasons for that, and there's a recent update video that kind of addresses a little bit of what that is. But we have every intention on prospering this channel, on doing everything we can to make it grow and to provide a lot of content and information and education and affirmation to our belief as Christians, as Messianic Hebrew roots. I'll take a lot of those terms. I'm okay with that. But that's our purpose and our goal, is to continue to grow this, to have as many people have access to this information as is possible. So blessings to you all, and I'll say shalom, peace, and bye for now.
You've been watching Truth and Testimony, the broadcast. If you have a comment, please leave it on the bottom of this video or email us at truthandtestimonyemail@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Truth and Testimony, the broadcast, is not affiliated with Truth and Testimony magazine.